Semi-finals, and for Leighton Hewitt enjoying his second semi-final in a row here at the US Open. For Yevgeny Kafelnikov, he's as well experienced a semi-final that a couple of years ago, losing to Andre Agassi in 4 sets. Leighton Hewitt, of course, last year going out to Pete Sampras, the third semi-finalist to repeat that this year. Pete Sampras will follow against Marat Safin in a repeat last year of last year's final, of course. Good that the players are courtside. We had to wait for the men's doubles for a while yesterday, but the men are eager to get on with the action. And for me, before I introduce through the key things today, Yevgeny Kafelnikov has the game to beat Leighton Hewitt. On the head-to-heads, that would suggest different. Leighton Hewitt is 4-1 up, and they've played key matches too, which I'll come to a little later. But this man hits the ball flat. He can play in a Grand Slam on all surfaces. He is very, very adaptable. Leighton Hewitt will stay at the back. He will counter-punch. We've seen a little bit more aggression for him, but I don't think he's going to be a match for Yevgeny's adaptable game plan that he will bring for me to the court today. He will serve and volley a little if he's losing control of the ground stroke rallies, and he'll take the ball very, very early against the topspin of Leighton Hewitt. I also think that Leighton Hewitt, which is another key for me, was close to tears in his match against Andy Roddick, and he himself has said that he is physically and mentally drained from that experience. So I'm taking Yevgeny, and it's happy lunchtime to Fru McMillan. Welcome, Fru, and your thoughts on our first semi-final.
Well, it's been a bit of a marathon, hasn't it? Whenever you've played 5 matches through to a semi-final, you have to be a special sort of person, I think. Kafelnikov has proved himself at this level, and I think, as you implied, Chris, I think part of the key to this match is not so much the fact that Hewitt has the edge over Kafelnikov. It is that long match that Hewitt played against Roddick. And in many ways, I go back to that Curtin-Kafelnikov match, and I said at the time that I think Curtin actually is not doing anybody any favors by capitulating. I think he's playing very much into Kafelnikov's hands, and so, of course, it transpired, because Kafelnikov won 4, love and 3, lost 7 games. And Hewitt was involved in that marathon against Roddick. Even though they've had a day to spare, I think in many ways Curtin has done a bit of a disservice by bowing out quite as quickly as he did. So it gives Kafelnikov a real edge. But that edge will be outweighed by this man's series career record against Kafelnikov. The fact that he does have the edge in matches played of 4-1. The fact that they played their very first match in a Davis Cup tie in Australia, where there was a lot of heated discussion before the match. And the fact that Kafelnikov said he was going to teach Hewitt a lesson, and then ended up playing on what he called was a potato pat. Doesn't mind what they played on. It was a grass court, and Hewitt beat him in 3 straight sets. So that's a significant win, and Hewitt, of course, will remember that. But can he fight back? He's not the strongest man alive. Yevgeny Kafelnikov is much bigger and stronger, and I think that too will weigh against Hewitt.
So you're going for Yevgeny as well?
I'm going for Kafelnikov, yes.
I think it's going to be straight sets. I really do. I think a couple of the sets, particularly the first, will be tight, but I do see a straight sets win in these partly cloudy skies. 77 degrees, not as hot as yesterday. The wind coming from a northwesterly 19 kilometers per hour velocity. And we will get the mixture of sun and cloud, but no rain, thankfully, is expected today on semi-final day.
Hewitt's job really initially is to withstand Kafelnikov, because I think Kafelnikov's going to play as a little bit as Curtin played against Kafelnikov, is going to come out in a bit of a rush, and Hewitt's job will try and be to keep in there and just get Kafelnikov even more tense. I think that could be a crucial part of the match. Kafelnikov could well do what Curtin did, and that is self-destruct, if he finds that Hewitt is standing firm and resisting him.
Good year for Leighton Hewitt, as you see, comes into the the US Open with the best career win-loss record on tour this year. Only 3 titles, though, half that of Gustavo Kuerten. Sydney and a couple on grass. He beat Magnus Norman in Sydney. And Queen's beating Pete Sampras and Tim Henman in the final. And again on grass, Guillermo Cañas. So Yevgeny, who still favours his birthplace as his living quarters, winning Marseille this year, but it's been a quiet sort of year for Yevgeny. He beat Julien Bouter. You would have seen that with us on Eurosport earlier on in the year. 3 semi-finals and 5 quarter-finals mixed with 5 first-round losses. That's pretty much a standard year for Yevgeny, as we see the Brit Mike Morrissey being afforded this match. A great thrill for him, but he's been here, done it before, respected by the players, and normally does a good job. Let's hope no overalls at key stages. Lleyton Hewitt to continue his US Open history, as I said, in the semi-finals last year, losing to Pete Sampras, ran out of steam a little. There's his route through. The rain certainly helping him against Tommy Haas, a set down in 2-all with Tommy Haas playing as well as I've seen him, with the confidence brought in from Long Island, the title he won there, the German. But eventually on the restart, Hewitt too strong, too good, as he has been throughout the tournament. The second round match, obviously, James Blake, and we're not going to talk about that too much because it is in the past to a degree. I felt it was wrong at the time. He apologised. It's gone away to a degree. It was a controversial match, though. Yevgeny equaling his career best effort in the US Open. 2 slams, of course, in 96 the French and 99 the Australian Open. And of course a quarter-finalist at Wimbledon as well. And for his slams this year, Yevgeny, quarter-finalist in the Australian, losing to the Frenchman Arnaud Clément. And a quarter-finalist in the French, again losing to Guga, another one of the big matches in the slams. But of course, the more big matches you play in the slams, the better equipped you are next time round. Hewitt, relatively inexperienced, of course. This only his 2nd Grand Slam appearance in a semi-final. But both men looking to make the final here, of course, for the first time. And the key for me as well with the Russians through, if we've got the Williams sisters, they've made it through to the final. Are we going to get 2 Russians? Well, they're both trying. That helps. Confirmation of the head-to-heads, their last meeting in Stuttgart, indoors, earlier on this year. 6-3 in the 3rd.
Yes, I think it was actually last year, that Stuttgart meeting.
So the preparations, the think tank time, has come to a conclusion. Both men making final adjustments to shoelaces and grips and so on in readiness for this, the first of our 2 semi-finals, live from New York. Lleyton Hewitt of Australia, the 4th seed, taking on Yevgeny Kafelnikov. 7 years the senior Kafelnikov at 27 and seeded number 7.
You might just like to know that Hewitt, before a match, really likes to keep to himself. Kafelnikov a bit more gregarious, vastly more experienced. Doesn't mind people around him. Hewitt won the spin of the coin, elected to receive.
And the former world number 1 will get us underway.
$15 love. $30 love.
Just a look.
Unbroken against Curtin. Had to save a break point in the opening game, and then one other only.
40 love. 40-15.
Well, on the strength of 2 shots, a forehand that Hewitt missed and that backhand, he is going to look to try and up the pace here early on. It's not typical Hewitt.
Good example of the pattern of the match tactically we can expect. Anything short, Yevgeny will be on to.
I think he's going to come in quite a bit more in this match. We saw him do that against Curtin. Not so much serve volley, although he did that as well.
That's going to be the fun of the battle for Leighton Hewitt. Surprising that Yevgeny chose the cross-court backhander coming off.
Well, he hit it, but he hit it too short and didn't get too much of an angle on it. It's always risky when you go cross-court, but if you do it well enough, and he can, he will get away with it.
Fair few in on the crowd in this colossus of a stadium. Big occasion, of course, as well. And a big moment for Leighton Hewitt, a break point in the opening game. Some opening game too. 5 points in a row, couple of passes. He said he was emotionally and physically drained. I think he was telling us a porky fruit.
Well, I don't think a player like Hewitt with his sort of temperament at the age of 20 is going to show tiredness early on. But of course the key for Kafelnikov is to keep him out here. I mean, Kafelnikov naturally would like to win in 3 straight, but what I'm saying is even if Hewitt wins the first set, Kafelnikov's got to tell himself that the longer he stays out here, the better his chances are if Hewitt is in front. And it's rather interesting that I was saying Kafelnikov can self-destruct. Hewitt's got to withstand the early onslaught. Well, it all happened in the opening game.
There's an urgency about Kafelnikov, and in the early stages he probably just needs the limbs and the joints to be oiled, to get warm, to get a sweat on before he's going to move freely enough to make those volleys, because they're going to be tough, the volleys in this match.
Hewitt only lost his serve once against Roddick, amazingly enough. That was in the 4th set. See, he's changed his game plan just a little bit. Not as frantic to hit the ball hard. He started the match a little bit like Curtin started the match against him.
40-30.
Oh, is he going to test the ball, measure the net? It's a shot that sometimes gives the Russian supporters grey hairs, that forehand of Kafelnikov's in mid-court.
Settled in well to his game plan, Leighton Hewitt, just playing within himself, not going for too much unless forced to, like on the passing shots. But I agree with what you're implying, Fru, that Yevgeny has come out playing nearly at 100%. Didn't go in, so he's dropped down a notch or two, as opposed to looking for the right level.
Thank goodness we agree.
15.
The sort of supporters I'm talking about are people like Alex Metrovelli, of course, a semi-finalist himself at Wimbledon in that boycott year in '73, where he won through to the final. And that's what they want to see on the forehand.
30.
Metrovelli, although a Georgian, does a lot of commentary for Russian television. At a close-up of Kafelnikov's feet, he does move that left foot, and naturally they've been fairly vigilant here about foot faults, so they should.
I'm sure he breathes a sigh of relief. 40 love, didn't drop serve, he's held serve and on the scoreboard for the first time in the semi-final. 2-1 Hewitt, first set. Looks very relaxed, Leighton Hewitt, out here in the early stages. Must be very pleased with the first three games, the way they've gone. He will now very clearly know, sitting there, as well as Yevgeny, of course, as to what is going to be required.
Time.
Understandably, I guess this is the first match on court. Gives time for the crowd to come in. Sampras being the American, of course, the sole American. Will be playing to a packed house. We hope this will get pretty full as we go along. 2-1.
He lost to Sampras, of course, in last year's semi, but a very different quarter-final approach. He had beaten Clement in 3 straight sets, as opposed to Roddick in 5. Really impressed by the extra pace that he's got in his shots, rocking Kafelnikov onto the back foot.
length, great range so early on.
Well, I hope we see a slow motion of Hewitt. It'll be actually difficult to get him in slow motion because his footwork there, I often make the comment about Kafelnikov's, while he was so quickly into position to counter that backhand return of Kafelnikov.
Looks as though he's not quite sure now how to play the points, Kafelnikov. Passing shots early on has rattled him.
Because of Kafelnikov's first comments about Hewitt when he was in Australia for the Davis Cup, there was quite a bit of needle between them on court, but Hewitt says that Kafelnikov treats him with respect now and they get on reasonably well. Well, this is the best of the Hewitt shots, and he's losing very little to spin here, really flattening that, no real top on it.
Further chances for the Australian in their 5 matches they've played already. The man who's won the first set has won the match. Double break point chances.
Tends to save his serve, run about 62% or so of the time, Kafelnikov. Not quite as good as Hewitt in that department.
Well, this really is a phenomenal start for Leighton Hewitt, that's for sure. A double break, 4-1 lead in a quarter of an hour. We'll be back. Welcome back. From the break, the stats came up. This man here, very few unforced errors, very few winners. Evgeny Kafelnikov, 2 winners, 9 unforced errors. Typifies the first 5 games. The winners have got to increase and the unforced errors have got to drop for the Russian. 4-1.
Love 15.
Well, even though Hewitt only lost his serve once against Roddick, Kafelnikov knows that he's breakable, and that's certainly what he's got to tell himself. He may be 2 breaks down, but this is not a set you give away.
Love 30.
Loudest noise from a jet I think we've had in the tournament. think Hewitt could hear himself hit that ball.
Well, he'll really tear his hair out if he doesn't win this game.
Again, evidence of what Yevgeny must come in on. It's got to be top quality.
Well, and Hewitt is particularly unperturbed. He really has drilled these two-handers. What a remarkable shot it's now become. If we look at Kim Clijsters, supported Hewitt all the way through his Roddick match. There was a time when he stuttered a bit on those backhands.
First ace of the match.
Advantage Hewitt.
Wind's just picking up a little in the last few seconds. Hewitt support camp down Cahill on the front left, of course.
Advantage Hewitt.
Himself a semi-finalist here in 1988, lost to John McEnroe. John Fitzgerald sitting next to him, the Australian Davis Cup captain.
Very close to the line. It's the second game in the first six played where Yevgeny has had a 40-love lead. The opening game of the match, of course, and that one right there. Not to convert.
Well, he's not tearing it out, is he? Been the worst possible of sets for Kafelnikov, because when you've had chances, it really does irritate not taking them.
I think Hewitt's put some metal in the lines with a magnet attached. He's certainly finding them. 3 set points for Leighton Hewitt. I'm not going to mention it, I promise. Well, Yevgeny Kafelnikov, also in the press, said that irrespective of what happens in a match, I've played so many big-time matches, I can take care of all eventualities. I feel really confident about this match. Well, he's got it all to do, hasn't he? After set 1.
BNP Paribas, the bank for a changing world.
Finals. Yevgeny better get his Russian skates on. 24 minutes. It's all Leighton Hewitt thus far. It's the benefit now, starting the second set. Knows what's required, he just can't find it.
Kafelnikov's got to remember that he's won the French, and he didn't win the French by hitting every ball for a winner. Well, this will help soothe the pain, particularly coming on the forehand side. Hewitt's so confident now. He can play like Sampras. He's doing his best to help Kafelnikov along. That exceeds his average for a match.
Got them out of the way early.
Got to find the happy medium. Just give it a bit more air. That's what Hewitt does so well with his much more percentage game, although we haven't seen as much of that today. We see many more single-handed shots from Kafelnikov. I'm pretty sure we'll see a short shot. He doesn't want to play a drop shot so much, but he can afford, I think, to try and jerk Hewitt around, bring him in sometimes.
Certainly fearful of that passing shot, and rightly so. You know, it's funny, Fruit. Yevgeny Kafelnikov, in an interview, came as close to saying that he doesn't necessarily give 100% in every match. When you then suddenly want to give 100% and turn it all on, surely in life's habit-making, that's difficult.
Yes, and it's also difficult, of course, to continue to fight and fight if you have got into the habit of throwing matches. And of course, he plays so much tennis during the year. He gets named the Iron Man for all his singles and doubles exploits year in and year out. It's actually very difficult for him to fight match in and match out.
Certainly buckling in the heat here, isn't he, early on? Mustn't let Leighton Hewitt get too far away either. Especially with the head-to-heads, 4-1 Hewitt.
30.
It's just got to stay with him in the early stages in this second set and just make Hewitt think a little. It's all too easy at the moment. Mum and Dad?
14.
Showing on the right, Glynn on the left, of course. Fine sporting background they have too, that all helps. Closest he's been in the match, 1-1.
Not as humid as it can be here in New York, which is a treat for the players. Nothing worse than when it's warming up and you can't get a decent grip on the racket. Well, he's really played this backhand down the line. He's on the stretch there. Kafelnikov's in control, but look where his direction is. Straight down the middle, and Hewitt can manufacture the angle from that position.
So composed, isn't he? So in control of himself.
And Kafelnikov looking a little groggy. With his company Fischer for a long time. One of the reasons, I'm sure, why he plays Kitzbühel every year, because they're an Austrian-based company.
Struggling in his matches, Yevgeny Kafelnikov is used to. In his first round, he lost the opening set to Kratichvili of Switzerland. Lost the first 2 sets against George Bastel, a fellow Swiss, in round 2. And the first set in the 3rd round. As Leighton Hewitt takes another game, Arnaud Clément and Gustavo Kuerten were out to lunch in his next 2 matches, so it really is a struggle for the 7th seed. Welcome back live. Yevgeny just about that. Set down, 1-2 down.
Time to buckle the shoe, eh?
15. 30.
I just love watching this chap get down to return serve. He virtually straddles the Hudson, one on one side, one on the other. The legs are so far apart.
He hangs his head, Yevgeny, but he's seen enough of that to know he's a master stroke player in this department.
Well, he's found a rich seam down there, and the golden ball just travels down there at his beckoning. Amazing two-handers down the line by Hewitt.
Let's versus.
Every passage of play is a question asked by each player. Yevgeny has changed it up a little bit with the serve and volley here. Hewitt provides the perfect answer. And when you feel that the question you're asking is fruitless, it can be very demoralizing.
Well, the performance so far by Hewitt has been absolutely tip-top. He's defended well, but much more impressively, he's attacked well. Counter-punching, he's always been good at. Today, he's superlative. A real headache for the Russian.
My bet's looking good.
Well, you said straight sets.
He is human. He's missed one.
The only difference was that Kafelnikov used this single-handed approach and hit it deeper, and of course the big difference that Hewitt missed. But depth was important. Kafelnikov was able to get a bit closer to the net.
6.
Hewitt's played the two-hander so well down the line. Very often it's a shot that Kafelnikov uses so well.
Fantastic again from Leighton Hewitt. How low he kept that pass, this time on the forehand wing.
I wondered whether Kafelnikov was beginning to play Roland Garros type tennis in the preceding rally. Of course, he won the French in '96. Semi-finalist there as well. But then, of course, he came in and just a little bit more likely to err on his forehand volley, which he ends up playing pretty flat. He doesn't get the slice that he does get on the backhand side.
Well, Leighton Hewitt is set in 4-1 in 44 minutes. Stay with us to see if Yevgeny can come back. This is the time where you rethink, replan the route ahead. Leighton Hewitt has no such problem. Superb performance so far for a set in 4-1. Hasn't had a lot to beat, has to be said, but when he's been asked the question, he has produced, and that has destroyed Yevgeny's game plan belief maybe, but more important than that, his confidence.
It seems to me that Kafelnikov's plan A, which was to be a bit more aggressive, to attack, take the net a bit more, as Curtin tried against him, has failed. I would not pursue it for too much longer. I would say that I'm out here for the long road. I'm going to play Roland Garros type tennis, slow it down a little bit, but it means a lot of running and a lot of time.
Lot 15.
His only win against Hewitt came at the Rochers Club in Düsseldorf on clay.
Even the trademark missing.
Well, I mentioned there was always the chance of a self-destruct here, as with Curtin. If he loses this point, I think it is. Except we've got to tip our hat to Hewitt.
absolutely rock solid, and now confident enough to take the initiative himself, much to the delight of his girlfriend, a loser in the quarter-final, of course, to Venus Williams, enjoying the sunshine and the form of Leighton Hewitt. I think that stripe on his back's going to turn into a big, round, golden blob. Can't miss.
Just outstanding counter-punching. 40-love opening game to Kafelnikov. Since then, Hewitt hasn't looked back.
Doesn't need to change the game plan, Leighton Hewitt. Surprised to see him press. Almost wants to rub his nose in it.
That's for six.
Kafelnikov had lost 79 games coming into this semi. Hewitt just 3 games more. 82. Segura, the Ecuadorian who's lived in the States for many, many years, one of the great brains of tennis, was lost to the amateur ranks because he turned professional very young. Wonderful two-handed forehand, single-handed backhand. One of the first to use it. Not the first, but one of the first.
30-15.
I mentioned he had a great brain. I wonder what he's making of this match so far.
Well, I'm sure most of his thoughts will be directed at Kafelnikov at the moment.
Little skip as if to say to himself, that's better. This is what I was looking for right from the start of the match.
Well, perhaps he ought to concentrate a bit more on playing the shot that Hewitt likes, which is just the one he's played, the into-out forehand.
Loud applause signifies the first real reward for Yevgeny Kafelnikov's efforts. A break of serve, but he still trails by a set and 2-5. At least it's kick-started him.
Yes, that'll give him a great boost, and perhaps impress on Hewitt that it's not going to be as easy as it perhaps seemed at 6-1, 5-1. Not that Hewitt's thoughts would have got too far ahead, I'm sure. Young, but experienced enough. He's been through enough Davis Cup matches to know, like Kafelnikov, that he might lead, but when you're up against quality, there's always the chance. I was mentioning the errors he's made cross-court on the forehand, and look at the forehand unforced errors there. And maybe he's got to concentrate, and when he goes forehand, goes cross-court with the forehand, to play it a bit more safely, just minimize the errors there and wait for the opportunity to play it to the Hewitt backhand side.
Were you surprised to see Leighton Hewitt there through, looking to come in twice, including the break point he lost in that game?
Not really, only because he's so on his game. He probably feels he can do everything, but it can be dangerous to change a winning game.
It's like the cheerleaders from the various universities are in courtside. Very popular with the youngsters, Leighton Hewitt.
Well, it's a magnificent point. Well, it wasn't a bad approach. It had a fair amount of depth, but again, right down the middle. Sometimes people recommend that, but Hewitt has not been fazed by it at all. They recommend it because they believe it cuts out the angle.
Two chances, of course, to take a 2-sets-to-love lead in this semi-final.
Actually went through the net, I believe.
As if to make it worse, a pile driver down the line winner. The first verbal come on. 57 minutes, 3 minutes shy of the hour, and only 3 games for the Russian. We'll show you some women's semi-final action should we be running short of 9 o'clock. The set 2 summary, and I think that's just lacking one thing, the word dismal.
Well, of course, also what it lacks is the forced errors. Hewitt has played an absolutely superb couple of sets. Kafelnikov has come from 2-sets-to-love down 3 times in his career. Did it here at the US Open last year in the first round. Different opposition there. It was Tanoichev then.
And of course this year, here as well in the Second round against the qualifier, George Bastel, from 2 sets to love down.
Yes, a good point against Bastel. When you think of Kafelnikov's early draw, I mean, Kratchfield I thought might be a difficult match for him, the Swiss, who took him to 5, but Kratchfield, Bastel, and Albandian. The sort of draw that most players would perhaps dream of at a major, and yet he struggled in them. And then both Clement and Curtin really, frankly, seemed to lie down to him. So how deep is his reservoir of self-belief and confidence?
It's filling up nicely, the Arthur Ashe Stadium court. Crowd are trying to lift him. They want to see more of a contest out here.
Hewitt.
Good solid game though from the Australian. He's been faultless today. Hasn't put a foot wrong hardly.
And when he has, it's worked out well for him because he lost his serve, but as a result of breaking Kafelnikov, he ends up starting the third set. So always ahead. At least he hopes so. Kafelnikov always behind. That much more of a struggle.
So tough as well through, isn't it, to see Evgeny turning this around. It's been so one way.
Almost an impossibility.
Yeah. New balls. 2 sets down, love 1 down.
15 love.
There have been times when I've wondered about Hewitt's finishing touches. He hasn't really been able to hammer home the advantage sometimes, but he's playing aggressively enough, I think, to be able to achieve that all right today. In other words, part of his problem is he tends to play the percentage tennis that he usually plays when obviously the other player is upping his game in order to fight back.
You got to feel sorry for Evgeny. As soon as Leighton Hewitt hit that, he knew it was going over his head and it'd be fruitless to chase it.
Well, the forehand topspin lob and the backhand topspin lob are probably the 2 shots he enjoys playing most.
Well, the crowd are now starting to whistle a little. A few boos ringing out. Yevgeny Kafelnikov is trying 100% out here. It just will not work for him. And this man is playing superb tennis to make it doubly as miserable.
Well, he has the tenacity of a terrier. He just hangs on, Hewitt. And last year he was the best in the world at breaking opponents' serves. And that's been borne out. Kafelnikov's lost his serve 7 times.
Six-1, 6-2, 2-love. Incredible.
This is heady Hewitt.
He must be starting to feel excited inside. The goosebumps must be rising. The thought will cross his mind at some stage. Hang on a minute, I could be in a Grand Slam final.
40 love.
It's probably going to be his biggest enemy in this match. Running, he hopes, to the finishing line, Leighton Hewitt. It's looking pretty impressive, isn't it? Spare a thought for Yevgeny. This is a horrible feeling. It's a Grand Slam semi-final. His second here at the US. He's tried everything he can. Nothing has come off. And it's reduced him to that scoreline. Leighton Hewitt has been terrific. Played exceptionally well. You don't want to see this in a semi-final.
Love 15.
Well, in '96 in the semi-final here, Michael Chang beat Andre Agassi 3-2-2. The most one-sided before that, '93, Sampras beat Volkov 4-3-2.
Love 30.
Well, he said he was going to teach Hewitt a lesson the first time they met. That was 4-5-2 to Hewitt. Just been one of those days.
Love 14.
Kim keeping her hat on at the moment. She knows there's still a way to go, despite everything.
Plum, I would say.
15-14.
Alexander Volkov, who has been director of the tournament in Moscow. Left-handed Russian.
Hewitt leads 4-love.
Two games away from going a step further than 12 months ago, Leighton Hewitt. And short of another tornado hitting the US Open, he's surely going to achieve just that.
Well, I wondered at the beginning of the tournament what the gold streak was down the backbone. Now we know. The man with the golden touch.
Wants blood now as well, doesn't he, Hewitt?
30-love.
Well, in many ways, it's quite mesmerizing, breathtaking. To make somebody so good look comparatively second class takes some doing.
Game Hewitt.
One game away now, and only 3 games dropped in the match thus far. 74 minutes. We'll be back. Fu and I have sat in the commentary box at the change of ends, speechless.
Some will be pleased at that, I think.
Yeah, most, I would think. Surely not a bagel set for Yevgeny Kafelnikov in the 3rd set. That would be too much. A 1-2 and love hammering he doesn't deserve, but that's what it's looking like. He's fighting for some sort of credibility here, Yevgeny Kafelnikov. Crowd recognise it, but there's not a lot of spirit in the applause. Love 5 serving to stay in the semi-final.
15-love.
Well, I don't think we've had a love set in the semis in the Open era.
30-love.
We had one in the final, of course. I remember when Connors beat Rosewell 1-1 in '74.
40-love. Leads 5-1.
Remarkable. They've all witnessed something remarkable thus far. Evgeny at least could say to himself, there'll be some comeback.
And I've held my serve once in each set.
All facing in one direction.
Love.
2 points from sheer delight for Leighton Hewitt. It's hardly faltering. 3 match points. And a dream come true, a place in a Grand Slam final.
Let's first serve.
It was a let. Well, that's the rehearsal.
Well, a pity in many ways, because I feel he should possibly end it with that shot. It's where he marked his territory earlier with it.
Two gone, 1 to go. Celebrated victory already, Leighton Hewitt, don't forget. The hat's off now.
And he's tried it all, hasn't he? He tried the big backhand, then he tried the net approach, then he tried the percentage game, the typical Hewitt approach to winning matches.
Match point number 4.
He was almost up again.
The celebration for real. this time for Leighton Hewitt.
6-1.
Carries on where the great Pat Rafter left off in 1998. He's put himself now within one match of lifting the US Open title. He has hammered Yevgeny Kafelnikov. 6-1, 6-2, 6-1. The Hewitt camp delighted. Yevgeny, spare a thought for him. Quite extraordinary for him.
Well, he was absolutely devastating, wasn't he? And yet there were thoughts, certainly in my mind, that he may have been devastated by that huge match against Roddick. Had a day to recover, I know, but he played absolutely perfect. He was a real tornado out there, and at times there's not much clutter on this court. It's got so much space, and yet he had Kafelnikov in a mental maze. Kafelnikov didn't know what to do next. And for a player of his quality to be as stunned as that, I think is all credit to Hewitt for just the most magnificent performance. He'll have Sampras and Safin worried playing like that.
5-1 now, the head-to-heads against the Russian Leighton Hewitt. And there we are going to show you again Venus Williams against Jennifer Capriati, the semi-final. If you missed it yesterday, it's worth watching, and if you saw it, it's worth another look. That ahead of our second match live, of course, the second semi-final, not before 2100 CET, that's 8 o'clock in the UK, but they'll be on court hopefully at that time. Now this, of course, has run so much shorter than predicted. Simon Reed and Fru Macmillan will be your hosts for the second semi-final. That's it for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed the 2 weeks of the US Open, and the graphics and the summary really there irrelevant. Leighton Hewitt just way too strong today. Yevgeny Kafelnikov came up a brick wall in Leighton Hewitt.